Well, we want to welcome everyone. Thank you for coming to this beautiful event, and happy Hanukkah. I want to thank Rabbi Shemtov, Leader Schumer, Leader McConnell, Leader Jeffries, and all of our many colleagues and friends that are here to celebrate with us today. Also want to give a special welcome to a special guest who is joining us this afternoon, and that is Tomer Kashet, and his family has been held hostage by Hamas in Gaza. And I want you to know that we can't imagine your unspeakable grief, of course, but please know that we are resolved to do everything that we can to help ensure that every hostage is returned home safely, and we will continue to lift you and your families up in prayer. As we gather this afternoon, we can't help but think of what the Jewish people are experiencing while they celebrate this special season. Many are experiencing, of course, persecution for expressing their faith, and some merely just for existing. It's incumbent upon leaders to not only denounce this hatred, but to counter it with love. Anti-Semitism is on the rise at an alarming rate, and we've all seen that. We see it on college campuses, on social media, from public officials sometimes, and in flyers and leaflets scattered in predominantly Jewish communities. The last 2 months have proven that we have a long way to go in making the world a safer place for our Jewish brothers and sisters. But we must remember that the only way to drive out darkness is to overwhelm it with light. And it is fitting today that we light the Capitol Menorah, which is a symbol of the miracle of this holiday and a celebration, of course, of the rededication of the Second Temple and the triumph of the Maccabees. But we are not just illuminating the menorah, we are displaying it proudly here in the People's House for all of America's viewing, like so many Jewish families have done in the windows of their homes across the country. I'm grateful to stand beside these leaders who deeply value the free expression of religion in our country and are committed to fostering a culture that promotes the flourishing of Jewish people and the Jewish faith. Thank you for this opportunity, and may your candles burn bright this season. Leader Schumer.
Thank you, Speaker, and my colleagues, Rabbi Shemtov, for inviting us. Hanukkah is a happy holiday, so I thought I'd first start off with a story and then get into my remarks. And it relates to, we were each given by Rabbi Shemtov a yarmulke. So in 1992, I was redistricted from my Brooklyn district to Queens into a significantly Jewish neighborhood. And a lady came over to me and said, "You're Congressman Schumer." And I said, "Yes, ma'am, I am." She said, "I've never met you before, but I watch C-SPAN religiously, and I want to pay you a compliment." And I said, "Thank you, ma'am." She said, "Of all the 435 members of the Congress, you have more courage than anyone else." I said, "Well, what do you mean by that, ma'am? I know some of them, we call them no-good-nicks, but some of them are very good people. What makes you say I have more courage than any other?" She said, "Well, as I said, I've never met you in person, but I watch C-SPAN religiously, and when you rise to your feet to speak, you're the only one who has the courage to wear a yarmulke." I said, "Thank you, ma'am. It's obvious you've never met me in person. It's not a yarmulke." Anyway, on a more serious note, we are joined here by the Bibas family, whose family members are being held hostage in Gaza at the brutal hands of Hamas terrorists. I want to thank everyone for being here and for everything you and other families are doing to advocate for your precious loved ones. We will not stop until every hostage is released and returned home. As the highest-ranking Jewish elected official in America, now and forever, the significance of a lighting menorah here in the Capitol is not lost on me. It reminds us of just how far the Jewish people have come in our long and winding history. This year, Hanukkah, of course, comes at a moment of grief, trial, and fear for the Jewish people. And perhaps for that, it's all the more meaningful. In the darkness of our world, after the horrific attacks in Israel on October 7th, and amid the dramatic and unfortunate spike in anti-Semitism here in America, we need the light of Hanukkah more than ever before. The story of Hanukkah is a story of perseverance in the face of unspeakable hatred. It's a story of how the Jewish people of a different age, forced from their land, forbidden to practice their religion, their temple destroyed and desecrated, gathered to pray in secret, banded together in the hills and fields, and fought off their attackers. Once victorious, they set about the hard, the slow, the painful work of rededicating the temple and once again lighting the eternal flame of hope. Rededication. That is what those survivors took part in by lighting the candles that night. That is what we are all called to do this Hanukkah. This Hanukkah, we must rededicate ourselves to the promise of being a land of tolerance for all people. This Hanukkah, we must rededicate ourselves to standing against anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and all other forms of bigotry and discrimination. It's why a few weeks ago I went to the Senate floor to speak about the rise of anti-Semitism in America. I spoke out because as the highest Jewish elected official in the country, I felt an obligation to say aloud what is felt in the hearts of so many Jewish people across the country and around the world. I shudder, absolutely shudder, to think what it would mean for the future of our children and their children if anti-Semitism continues to seep in our society like a poison. This Hanukkah, we must rededicate ourselves to building a more perfect union, one that preserves equality for every American. And this Hanukkah, we must rededicate ourselves to building a more just and equal world, one in which democracy thrives and prevails against the forces of darkness, whether in Israel or in Ukraine. Only after this rededication can we begin the hard work of Tikkun Olam, or the repairing of the world. This is a noble but worthwhile quest, and we must all do our part. So, Chag Sameach, a happy Hanukkah to all of you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Rabbi Shemtov, for being with us today. From the earliest days, Hanukkah was always been a shining light in darkness. And for millennia, the cruelties and injustices of history have given the Jewish people so many reasons to turn to this celebration of resilience and endurance. For generations, you've drawn inspiration from the triumph of the Maccabees. Year after year, you've turned with pride to the menorah as an enduring symbol of the richness of Jewish culture and the depth of Jewish faith. But I know for so many American Jews, this year feels quite different. This year, the darkness of that ancient form of hatred feels even darker. Israel is in mourning, and America mourns with her. Families are praying for the return of innocent loved ones, including several Americans from captivity. And we're honored to welcome one such family member who is with us today. But even in pain and grief, the people called a light unto the nations are gathered to light candles and ward off the darkness once again. Even now, the Jewish people's strength is a light in itself. So I'm honored to be with all of you today to share in this observance and to celebrate the miracle of light. And I join you in praying that this light will penetrate the darkness in which we live to bring about lasting peace. Happy Hanukkah.
To Speaker Johnson, Leader Schumer, Leader McConnell, all those assembled, happy Hanukkah. It's a high honor and a distinct privilege to be with you on today, and let me first just thank Rabbi Shemtov for his presence, his spirit, and for helping to host this special Capitol Menorah Lighting, the first of its kind in the United States Congress. And thank you to the Bibas family, whose cousins are being held hostage in Gaza, including 11-month-old Kufir and his brother Ariel. Your strength and advocacy are inspiring, and the release of all hostages will continue to be our top priority. These are very difficult times, but the story of the Jewish people, the story of the Maccabees, and the story of Hanukkah is one of resilience, of hope in the face of oppression, and of miraculous revolt against tyranny. It's a story of rededication, not just of the desecrated Second Temple, but rededication to fighting for freedom, fighting for truth, and fighting for the light. Today, in the spirit of Hanukkah, we rededicate ourselves to fighting for these values. We dedicate ourselves to fighting for freedom. We dedicate ourselves to fighting for the Jewish community here in Israel and all across the world. We stand together in the effort to crush anti-Semitism, anti-Jewish hatred, and of course, all forms of hatred throughout this country and beyond. We stand together to support Israel and to make sure that in this great country of ours, America will always be a safe place for the Jewish community, whether at synagogue, on campus, at home, or in the neighborhood. That is what the spirit of Hanukkah teaches us. May God bless you, may God bless the Jewish community, and may God continue to bless the United States of America. Happy Hanukkah.
Good afternoon, happy Hanukkah. Mr. Speaker, Leader Schumer, Leader McConnell, Leader Jeffries, Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi, and the members who have come here to celebrate with us. I want to point out, actually, that people tend to forget the centrality of women in the existence of the Jewish people and its miraculous odyssey. When it came to definition in the house of Abraham, it was our matriarch Sarah. When it came to saving Moses, it was his sister. When it came to the story of Purim, it was Queen Esther. And if you read the history of Hanukkah, the actual turning of the tide was through the daughter of the high priest. And I think that as a good son-in-law, quote my mother-in-law, who says that when we talk at the Passover Seder, Vihi Sha'amda, and that is which has stood next to us, the female connotation of the Hebrew word is used, because she says Vihi means the Jewish woman. So as I have the most important Jewish woman in the world, according to me, my wife, in our presence, I thought I'd mention that. Years ago in Billings, Montana, there was a menorah in someone's living room window, and somebody threw a rock through that window. The next day, the newspaper published a full-page image of a menorah and urged everyone to put it in their window in solidarity. There are only a few hundred Jews in Billings, maybe 1,000. But there were more than 10 or even 15,000 such windows with the newspaper in their front window. This tells us that the cause of Hanukkah is a Jewish holiday, but it's not only a celebration for Jewish people. The victory of light over darkness, justice over tyranny, ideas like these are universal. So when I was asked the other day at the National Menorah how many family members of hostages are here, I said a couple thousand. How many are there generally? Well, in America, 350 million. In the world, 7 billion. Because until the world is rid of the disease of Hamas and all these hostages are returned, we are all of us, all of humanity, in captivity. So I think that it's very important to remember that while the Jewish people are most obviously in pain, all of America and all of the world, all decent, meaning people as part of the human race are all in pain. I just want to talk about the menorah for just a moment. And before I say so, I'll say that the words diversity and adversity have more or less the same letters. When diversity doesn't work out, we end up with adversity, and we have to put it all back together again, and we will. This is a symbol of the Jewish story of resilience. America is the story of resilience. And therefore, when we light the menorah, it's Jewish people keeping our faith, but I think it's a message we can share with all our fellow Americans and peoples around the world. You're going to notice that there's one candle that's not in a row with the others. That's called the shamash, the utility candle, because at homes and in situations which have more space, it is used to light the other candles. The shamash is also indicative of the public servant, the one who gives their life in the service of others. Basically, the people who fill this very building. And therefore, all of us, while we have our lives of our own illumination, must find a way to illuminate something beyond ourselves. Because the thing about light is, it's not like funds, that when it's reduced to help someone else, there's less. When you light another candle, the original one is just as luminary. So as a human being, if you help somebody else, you brighten their life, you're not losing anything. They're gaining, in which case you're also gaining. And if our nation comes together and focuses on our strengths, even if we still retain our opinions, we'll only become a greater nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, which is what we all live for here. And I want to, of course, acknowledge the family members who are here of a baby not even a year old who is in captivity. And that nonsense is just intolerable. So when we light the menorah, we have to remember that this light will also cure that darkness. And we all pray together, each in our own way, that God Almighty will help us. Because atop the dome of this very building are the words for the glory of God. And we all live for the glory of God. So whatever we do in here, at the top of the very dome of this building, those are the words that tell us why we do it. So I'm going to tell you how we're going to light it and then invite the leaders to come and join me, please. And I'll just say a word of thanks to Senator Schumer, because this is his menorah, and he lent it to us for this very celebration. The first of its kind, I will tell you, to ever happen in the United States, especially in Congress. Debbie Wasserman-Schultz, who's here, was the chairman of the Democratic Party and lit a menorah together with Eric Cantor, who was the majority leader at the time in the House. But we've never had both leaders of both houses together. This is really a first. So please, if we can come together here. Now, we're going to be making two blessings, and I want you to know this is a demonstration. So when you light your own menorah, and after we finish the menorah lighting, please avail yourselves of course, latkes and donuts, the traditional Hanukkah foods, but also personal Hanukkah menorah kits. The way it works when you do your own is you place them from right to left, and you light them with the newest one first. So I should actually be on the other side, but I don't want to do that because it'll upset this photo. But when you do it at home, it should be done slightly differently. Those of you who know the words can join me as soon as the music starts.
Baruch atah
Many of you who are Jewish will do this in your home. But for those who are not of the Jewish faith, might wonder what we were just chanting. I'll say it to you in English. First, we said, "Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has given us the sanctity of his mandates and commandments, and told us to light these candles of Hanukkah." The second blessing was, "Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, that has done miracles for us and for our ancestors in those days and these times." And boy, do we need miracles, so please send them out. Those who want to join us in one more tune before the speaker will close the program. Ma'osur Yeshuati Lechanachem Leshabeach Tino Ve'sefilasi V'sham Toda Nizabeach Le'yestachin Ma'beach Mitzar Thank you for that, and we'll have the squeeze behind here, gentlemen.
Well, thank you so much, Rabbi. What a beautiful ceremony this was. We are grateful to everyone for joining us for this expression of faith and the celebration of the miracle of Hanukkah. God bless you all.
Happy Hanukkah.
Your singing voice is beautiful.
Tonair, the family, the hostage family wanted to say hi to you.
Okay, is that
We did
Tonair
then
right
we'll go
there?
about- Yes.